And welcome everybody of Epic Sketch Time. I'm your host, Mark Monmouth, and as soon as I can figure out where the cameras are, there we go. I live in very rainy Tacoma, Washington.
You went out there. Mark, your sound went off again.
Wonderful, just a sec.
Okay.
Can you hear me though?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. For some reason on my laptop, it keeps trying to, Apple Music keeps popping up like I haven't ever used it before, saying, hey, learn all about Apple Music. And so that's really annoying. Anyway, I'm Mark Monlix. I live in Tacoma, Washington. Today, I'm going to be working on an illustration for Creative Colloquially. Creative Colloquially is a project that artists in Tacoma do, where writers have poetry and short stories put together in an anthology, and then local artists read those short stories and do illustrations themed or inspired by them, and they are published in an anthology every few months. So, hey, I got called upon, and there was one story that really spoke to me, so that's what I'm doing an illustration for.
Nice.
With me today is Katie and Bill. Katie, why don't you tell us about your project?
Hi, I'm Katie C, and I am working on one of my Screaming Lady pictures. This is a montage to the women, Scream Queens of the 1960s. There are quite a few, but I decided to go with some of the most popular. So yeah, I got Rosemary, Barbara, Janet Leigh, and Tippi Hedren. So I am going to try to work on Janet Leigh today while we're from Psycho. And I also draw tarot cards.
Yeah.
And you can follow me on Instagram at Ambivalent Tarot.
Tippi Hedren's the birds, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
I thought you'd be working on all four at the same time. Like if you get your paintbrush filled with one particular color. I know some artists that will do an entire series that way so that they all have a consistent look.
So
sorry, I do that with watercolors quite a bit, but mainly because of the drying, letting the washes dry.
So they're all going to be in like a monochrome gray tone. I decided to do them all black and white because 3 of the movies were originally in black and white. So I will kind of be going across as I use certain colors. And then there'll be like hints and accents of, obviously it's not going to be all black and white. There's going to be a lot of gray tones, blues, light blues, greens, some, brown in there. But yeah, I think I'll probably get most of Janet Leigh outlined today. But yeah, no, I do have that plan. You have taught me that, Mark, that you should work in a series and also simplify your color scheme for printing purposes and things.
Okay.
And Bill.
I am Bill Morse. I'm a cartoonist and illustrator in equally wet Seattle, and today I am finishing the first of 2 Sunday strips for my Christmas story for this year. And right now, I'm mostly in the shading stage. As a matter of fact, though happily, the way it looks right now, I don't think it'll need that much shading, which is good because frequently I go a little crazy with shading to the point where it almost feels like I'm painting over what I colored. But matter of fact, if the share is on, Mark, I can show you where I am on it.
It's not on, Bill. Let me get to it. Share is now on.
Okay. So anyway, as I said, I'm pretty happy with it thus far, and I don't think it's going to need that much touch up. But as I said, second opinions are appreciated.
The panel number 5.
Yeah,
Like you have in the final panel with a little bit of the blue going off the edge of the panel on the right-hand side
right.
on the snow. I think you should do that on the snow on the left-hand side here, because right now it looks like you're forgetting to put any color in there.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
too-
okay. Got it.
It's too stark and white. And if you did that over by the balloon, it would push out the balloon just a little bit. And I think it's perfectly fine to have it stark white on the left-hand side. Up here on the, pardon me, on the right-hand side. But on the left-hand side, oh, but that's black. I think it should be
I'm
blue.
fixing that.
And maybe not even that intent. I would start it from where the word all is in the balloon. You have it too far over. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Farther to the left. Oh, you're going to the right. Bring it to the left. Farther, farther. Maybe your start point off screen needs to be farther, because I think yeah, that's better. Just a hint. Boy, those are some really dark skies you got going.
Yeah, I think I overdid it.
Yeah, are they meant to be dark? Is it like dusk or something?
Probably. I don't want it to be night, but I was sort of,
They look like stormy rain clouds. It looks like you're still stuck in Seattle.
well,
Okay.
well,
But
considering that Seattle, the city that is not Seattle, is where this starts out at.
well, it does look kind of, I don't know if this is in keeping with the story though, if you want it to have dark and gloomy skies.
I wanted a sort of winter off, but
Yeah, those are kind of wintry looking. Oh, I would just have taken the whole, no, instead of doing that, if you go back, undo that fill you just did. And if you just grab that whole panel by itself, or the whole sky by itself, and just lightened it by 20%, because I like the differential that you have going in there, and that kind of fits in with the skies on the next two panels. Okay, desaturate it a little bit. I think that's an improvement. Yeah. That because it's much lighter than the one up above by the train. And that's how dark it was before. So I think that's an improvement. If you can only get the hue to match a little bit of the skies going on. But yeah, I think that works.
Okay.
But where what you have going on is you have the inside walls of the cabin
Yeah.
also the same color, nearly the same color as outside. And so when you get to that second to last panel, it looks, I can't tell if that's a gray from the inside of the train or a gray from the sky that's going on the outside. So I think if you could change the color of the walls in the interior of the train into
Right.
something less bland, or a wood tone, even if it's a light, just a slightly darker wood tone than say what you have for the shades.
Uh-huh.
I think that would, because I know what you're going for. You're going for a nice neutral color to make everything else pop.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are my opinions.
Okay.
The illustration I'm working on right now is a wooden choo-choo train.
Oh, that is better.
Oh, can I see it again?
Yeah, this is a.
Yeah, and when you do that when you do that color to the second to the last panel,
Mhm.
it'll really tie it in from them transitioning from inside to outside. Because we got him in panel number 2 and he's obviously still outside the train.
Right.
Is this a take on Polar Express?
Yeah, a little bit. Though it goes in other directions quickly. Or let's say it starts with a take on Polar Express and it ends with a take on Stalker.
Okay, that's a bit of a jump for a Christmas thing.
Mhm. One fun thing, I finally saw Luca.
How was Luca?
Luca was extremely good. It's rather interesting. This may sound rather bizarre. My biggest nitpick about it was because of the style they were using for the entire movie with the figures and everything. I found the water too realistic.
The water was too realistic?
Yeah. I mean, yes, I know that sounds kind of silly, but otherwise it's absolutely gorgeous. Definitely a fantastic advertisement for the Italian Riviera too. I also picked up the Criterion edition of Bringing Up Baby, which is always fun.
The 2 films I saw, let's see, what were the films? I saw uh, at least 2 films over the late weekend. Let me take a look at my Letterboxd account. Not an endorsement, but I do enjoy having a place where I can track all my movies, and I do it on Letterboxd. You're on Letterboxd as well, aren't you, Bill?
Yeah, I probably don't use it as efficiently as I could, but I'm on it.
Have you been keeping it updated?
Uh, not recently. I definitely need to add a lot of those films I just mentioned.
Yeah, I like Letterboxd's diary feature where you can just make sure that you've seen it on a certain day and it logs it in. So let's see. Both of these are movies that are popular on Netflix right now.
Mm-hmm.
One is just came up called Red Notice. I give it a 5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's basically a heist slash adventure slash action comedy.
Right.
It's got explosions, it's got car chases, or does it have a car chase? And yeah, a very, very short car chase, I would say, and doesn't claim to be anything that it's not. And the other one is Army of Thieves. Now, I don't know if you saw Army of the Dead. I'm sure Katie saw Army of the Dead. But in Army of the Dead, which is where a bunch of people go into Las Vegas, where a bunch of zombies are located to break into a vault. They take along a safe cracker.
Oh, I think I've seen clips of that because there was I saw one of GQ's breakdown videos where they were having a safe cracker critique assorted movies involving safe cracking, and he gave that one an especially thumbs down as far as realism.
Well, the safecracker was such a interesting character. I'm wondering if they had planned ahead, because this very same year they took that character and they did a backstory movie on him, and they called it Army of Thieves. And it's just delightful to see him in that film. And then in the background of the film, you see all these news reports of the zombie apocalypse happening in the States.
I rather liked how the character was a legend in his own mind.
Okay, the plumber's gone now. Yeah, I've seen both of them, and I enjoyed both of them. I don't know anything about safe cracking, so it didn't bother me at all.
I technically I don't either, but I've been enjoying these GQ breakdown series.
But yeah, I enjoyed it, and of course it was zombies. There were zombies in the Army of Thieves movie too, but not really. I mean, they weren't really integral to the storyline, other than they used the zombie apocalypse to their advantage. For the distraction.
We do. Oh, sorry.
Now, so do you think that they came up with Army of Thieves quickly after Army of the Dead, when they realized they had a potential buzz with that character? Or do you think they planned ahead?
For some reason, I think I read that this is actually they wrote this originally as a 3-part series.
Oh.
And it was actually, from, if I'm remembering the article I read correctly, that they were actually supposed to be released in sequence. So the Thieves, then the Dead, and then I think the last movie is, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movies, the gentleman, who escapes at the end and he's bitten. The next story is supposed to be about him and what happens afterwards. I think that's what I read, but I kind of had that feeling too. I was like, was this just an opportunistic thing where it's like, oh, hey, we've got something on our hands that people, but I almost feel like it was done way too well for it to be hastily put together.
I thought it was done way too well, and he was so in keeping with how he was before in the other film. And it came out too quickly. It just seemed like, what the article you think you might have read, I think that has to be the situation, in which case we might be seeing a third movie, which would be nice.
Sorry.
I gave all of them, I gave the 2 I've seen so far a 7, I would say. How did you like it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say for a Zack Snyder movie, I would give it a 7 or 8, because it's consistent with the kind of work that he does. And he always has a special place in my heart, because with his rendition of Dawn of the Dead, we saw renaissance in the zombie genre of movies. So I would say that. I would say definitely. There's some like logic. One of his weaknesses is zombie logic. Like he sometimes forgets like bloodborne pathogen and like how his zombies spread. But I felt for like the Army of Thieves movie that wasn't a problem, and that everything was pretty consistent in that movie. It had some vibes of like Ocean's 11, some kind of like good, buddy drama, and then love and romance. So I thought it was good. Army of Dead, I was a little more critical of, because like I said, he doesn't always consistently have his transmission and how his disease works down pat. And there was almost like this weird science going on there with his new stuff, but it was like, okay, whatever. And I was also angry because Tim and I are pretty good at predicting what's going to happen in movies. And I was not expecting the ending that we got in Army of the Dead. Now, the ending we got in Army of Thieves, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense because of what we know about the character in the second movie already. But yeah. What was the question? I'm so distracted right now.
I was asking what you would rate the movie.
Okay, well, I effectively rated it and gave you a dissertation.
Yes,
So
you did.
I'm
And I
trying to look at
enjoyed-
Rosemary over here.
And I enjoyed every bit of it too.
Oh my gosh. My sister was telling me she got tested. My brother has ADHD, and it's been very apparent since he was a child that he had ADHD, like not just attention deficit, but attention deficit hyperactivity. Like the kid was like on top of the refrigerator when he was like 18 months old, and everybody's like, how did he even get up there? But so she recently got tested, and the psychiatrist was asking her, she said, are you the only one in your family that when you're asked a question, you can't give a direct answer? And she goes, no, I think that's everyone in my family.
It usually does run in the family. I mean, I remember when my sister was diagnosed, and the psychiatrist was talking to my mom, and he's saying, you're a classic case by eyeballing it. And so, and for that matter, my uncle appears to have it as well. So yeah, it's definitely genetic.
Interesting. I know my copy editor has a strong case of it to such an extent. It makes him a fantastic copy editor, but he even though you tell him not to do it, he'll do the research on it as well, besides the copy editing. And you're telling him, no, don't do the research. I've done the research. I'm not paying you to do the research. Just do the copying and editing and get back to me in a timely fashion. And because he could never do that, he had to go in and do the research, even though everyone told him not to. He just couldn't hold down or get jobs through the advertising firms because they just wanted fast, 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 and he was taking too long. And then he said, well, I put all these hours in, and they'd say, well, we didn't pay you to do the research, only do this. And so my agreement with him is, I'm only paying you this much. I want this amount of work. Don't want you to do the research. I mean, go ahead and do, I know you're going to do the research, but I'm not going to pay you to do the research. But I've been very worried about him lately because he has been having a lot of health issues and has been very incommunicado with me.
Oh yeah, you said nothing since then.
Just text messages saying that he's got a friend who's looking after him, but he hasn't felt so bad in it, he just feels terrible. But he's not saying anything about solutions other than he's just lying on his couch sleeping all the time. So
Yeah,
I still have concerns.
because I mean, ADD and depression very frequently go hand in hand.
Since we're talking about a neurotypical behavior, and also research, which, by the way, I know you guys know I'm a nurse in my day job, but I do research, and it's heaven. I love researching things. So like everything I have to do in my job, I have an excuse to research, which is amazing because I'm like that. I was like, I always have to know why. And as a patient, it actually I think it drives my doctors freaking crazy, because when I come into a doctor's appointment, like I usually can tell them all the research on whatever we're talking about before they even have a chance to respond with what should be the clinically appropriate thing. But yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot lately, about how our brains work and senses and how we perceive things, and how it shapes who we are, even, just like talking about attention deficit and then even having it in your family. And in my neuropathy group, so like most people think neuropathy is just, something that people with diabetes or like vessels, blood vessel problems get. It actually, there's all kinds of very complex types of neuropathy, but there's people who have families where neuropathy is actually hereditary, so their nervous system misfire. Well, if you're a mom or dad and you have always had a condition where you never sense or perceive things correctly, then you teach your children without meaning to perceive, if they're perceiving things wrong because their neuropathic symptoms are the same or they have the same condition. You might not know until the child goes to school or casually mentions to the doctor that something's going on, that the whole family is just completely not sensing things as how they consider typical, like having numbness or high tolerance for pain or just not feeling pain.
Yeah, or
And
a little, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
It's reminding me of a story my mom told me once, where she was a counselor at this camp for handicapped children back in the 50s, and she was telling the story about this child who was there, who was for the other handicaps, but she also had a very strong lisp, a speech impediment, so they were working on that as well. And so the summer is nearly ended. They were having a talk with the the child's parents, and they're saying, we, along with all the stuff, we have did some very good progress on her speech therapy. And the mother looks at her and saying, "There's something wrong with Elizabeth's speech," and then suddenly realized it wasn't a speech impediment, and for all practical purposes, it was a dialect.
Yeah, I mean, and that can happen. I know, because I've had a lot of doctor's appointments lately, and for me, like losing my sensory nerves, because originally it started as excruciating pain. Like I just had generalized excruciating pain for almost 14 years. So like my pain, it started in my early 20s, and so being a early, like 27, 28-year-old person, and I'm having like all these weird neurological symptoms and this and that. And they're like, "Oh my God, you're just really," and I'm very type A. I'm sure you guys have noticed that about me. Like I'm just high strung. And they're like, "Oh no, you're just like, a woman in her late 20s who's incredibly high strung. There is nothing wrong with you." And so I kept going to the doctor and going to the doctor. And they would just be like, "No, you don't really have pain. No, you don't really have pain." And I'm like, "Yes, I have pain," but no one would ever address it or any of my neurological symptoms. So when I went back, now that I'm in my 40s and I've lost my sense of touch, so like I can feel pressure I can feel some vibration, but like I don't know what is touching me at any given time. Like I don't have any tactile senses anymore. Like sometimes I get pain on my hands and then it's like all over the place before I figure out that, I have wet paint on me. But it's so interesting to think about how you perceive the world from your senses, or how your different conditions can, you just think it's normal because this is who you are and how you sense things. And so the neurologist is like, oh, they were like, you probably started losing your sensory nerves like 2 or 3 years ago. They were like incredibly inflamed, but then your brain had adjusted to pain. So then when you started becoming numb, your brain adjusted to being numb. And it wasn't until I lost complete sensory abilities in my feet that I actually knew there was a problem, because I kept falling because I didn't know where my feet were. But my brain didn't even let me know that was the problem. So it's so interesting. Maybe that's why I like painting screaming ladies. And I might have ADHD because I'm so tearful. And I go all over the place. Because that's what this conversation started with. Tim was just telling me, so we had the plumber come over, and the plumber just left. And the plumber quoted him on to fix the problem. And he told him it's a $45 problem to fix, but if he fixes it, it will be $700. So I feel like we should all go back to trade school, because knowing a trade's really important. I was thinking about that. I was telling Tim, because he was like, we called 8 places to try to get a plumber,
Right.
and nobody would either call us back, or there just wasn't, people wouldn't answer their phone, or there was nobody available. And we just got lucky that this plumber here was in our neighborhood fixing something else. And so he was able to come over and take a look. But it's so interesting that, I mean, like, I don't want to be a plumber, but I hope more people want to be plumbers because we need them. So if there's any artists who also need another trade listening to this, trade
It-
school's not a bad option.
It's true that the trades are, they are in dire need of people to work for them. And if you're a plumber, man, can you get work? It's amazing. I subscribe to a service called At Your Service Plumbing.
Oh.
And I started subscribing to them many years ago when I did their logo. And actually, it was a client friend of mine who got the logo project, and I did the illustration for them, and he did all the art direction. But I said, yeah, I'm the one that drew that. And they had this wonderful thing where you subscribe to them, just give them like $8 a month. You would be on their silver account, which meant that if you had a problem, you could call them up and say, hey, I got a problem. And they would have a person out to you that day.
Wow.
And not only that, but the money that you had been paying, up to a certain amount of it would be applied to the project. And that was like that for the first 5 years I used them. And then they had to get rid of that. Well, I'm still on their silver plan. I'm still paying them $8 a month. And it's completely worth it for those times when I say, hey guys, I have a plumbing issue, to have them know that they will make time to put me up at the top of the list. I may not see them directly. I may not see them that day unless it's a real terrible situation. But they appreciate their long-term customers and they take care of them if that's the situation. But if I just need something installed or looked at, I'll have some with, there in a couple days. No problem. But yeah, I don't, and they do this wonderful thing. A matter of fact, I called them up today because for years, if you came in a couple days before Thanksgiving, they would give you a free pumpkin pie. And I'd go in and I get my pumpkin pie. But in the last few years, especially with COVID, they switched over from doing pumpkin pies when they realized that they were getting all these extra pies. People were confessing, well, it's a Costco pumpkin pie you're giving us, and we don't like Costco pumpkin pie.
Okay.
We like the Costco apple pie. And then rather than them figuring out the shuffle, they figure, you know what? We'll just give people gift cards. If they don't want a pumpkin pie, we'll give them a gift card instead for $15. And they can buy their own pie or not. They can buy, whatever they want to for Thanksgiving. So then they went from, you just coming in and picking those up because people weren't coming in and picking them up, that you have to call in and say, yeah, I'm going to come in and pick it up. So they put your name on it. That's what I did today. I called them up, said, yeah, I'm going to get my $15 gift certificate. I mean, I'm okay with Costco pumpkin pie. It's just my wife makes a better pumpkin pie, and that's a big pie for 2 people, let me tell you. Not an endorsement, just saying.
Mhm.
Hey, you're doing a lot of endorsing today. Just say it.
Still, let's see. Oh, no, Katie,
Yes.
I saw this other vampire movie. You've probably seen it too. It's on Netflix, Night Teeth. A vampire on a
Ooh.
plane.
Actually, I've not seen that yet. I have seen the trailer though, and it looks good.
Okay. I won't
I've
tell you anything about it.
Like she's on there with her
Her little
child, is
boy,
that right?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I have.
So yeah, I would for people who enjoy horror movies, yeah, it's fairly decent. So yeah, I would, and you won't. Hopefully, you're not bugged out by subtitles.
No,
It-
never. I
Oh,
prefer
there's
subtitles. Oh, go ahead.
Depends on the subtitles.
Well, yeah, because
mean,
sometimes they.
Like, for example, I have trouble keeping up with French, Swedish, and Japanese. I almost go subliminal with how I take them in, but Chinese never seems to be able to keep the subtitles in the Chinese films. It's almost like they can't keep up with the talking. I maybe that's just me.
So there's this other movie on Netflix, horror film, called Don't Go Into the Woods Alone, or Nobody Leaves the Woods Alive, or something like that. Or Nobody's Going Into the Woods Tonight, or Nobody's. Anyway, it was a foreign film, subtitles. I enjoyed it. And now I see that there's a sequel called Part 2. And I'm just going, boy, yet another franchise that I have to get all invested in. And I was wondering if you had seen that one, even though I'm totally butchering the title on it.
No, but I know exactly which one you were talking about
Okay.
because we saw it too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I saw the I saw the how they advertise it. We actually talking about movies. Oh my god, it's almost 5:30. We actually took a break from horror movies this weekend, and we watched two kind of silly action adventure movies. We watched this movie called Red Notice, and
Ah,
then
Yeah, I watched that too.
and then we watched. I think that one was on Netflix, and then we also watched on Friday night. Both were goofy adventure movies. It's another big popular one that just came out.
Was
have
it
to
a
think about
Disney
it.
one?
It might have been a Disney one.
Was it with the Rock?
Oh, no, it was the Ten Rings movie. Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Is that right?
Yeah, the Marvel one.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that one was super fun. We just needed a weekend of like not so stressful movies. So we watched that and we enjoyed it quite a bit. We just watch silly stuff, but normally everything we watch is about murder and depraved people and paranormal stuff, and so it was kind of fun to just watch goofy movies. I think, and then last weekend we watched Free Guy, which was super cute.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to watching. Now, where's Freak Out? Is that on Netflix or is that on Shudder?
Free Guy, sorry.
Oh, Free Guy. Okay, so that's on Disney Plus, right?
I don't know. We rented it, I think, for
That's
99 cents or something.
That's the one with the guy in the video game, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, people, because Bill and I have yet another drawing meeting starting up at 5:30 on another channel, we're going to call this one good.
Okay.
Hi,
Hey.
guys.
I give Red Notice a 5 out of 10. It's a action comedy fluffy thing that doesn't claim to be anything what it is. It's just something with lots of fun explosions and so many choreographed fight scenes that you can shake a stick at it.
Oh, cool.
I agree with your assessment of that.
Anyway, so this has been Epic Sketch Time. Again, you can go to our Facebook page and sign up. We do go to the Eventbrite page and sign up. We meet every Tuesday at 4:30, and I'll see you all next week.
Okay.